Today, the Canadian Labour Congress is launching a campaign to coincide with Labor Day. Hassan Youssef is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress. He joins us in Toronto. Mr. Youssef, thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Michael, and happy Labor Day to you.
Yeah, happy Labor Day to you. You know, interesting to see Jacqueline's story there, because I'm also thinking about the release that was sent out by your organization. And in it, you say the pandemic has exposed the cracks in Canada's social safety net. How have you been seeing that?
Well, we've seen it in many ways. I think our long-term care in this country have failed many seniors who have died unnecessarily. We've seen the workers who are working in long-term care being exposed to the virus without proper protective equipment. Many of them, of course, told their stories about not having enough hours to, of course, make ends meet, and working sometimes 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. We've seen, of course, the challenges with the workers who are losing their work. Over 2 million Canadians today are unemployed, and the bigger question is, can we create better jobs to make sure that when they're going back to work, they're going to have jobs and training to meet the challenges of the future. But in addition to that, the EI system were not able to perform. To make sure the workers are going to have benefits, the government had to create new programs to serve, and of course the wage subsidy program to help workers and employers meet that challenge. We think we can do better, and fundamentally we've got to fix the social safety net. We should look at childcare to help women. Of course, we're struggling with the challenges of how they take care of their children, but also how they take care of families. And I think this is a moment when the federal government can lay out a vision for the country as to how we can, of course, address these concerns as we continue to, of course, better equip the country for deal with challenges in the future.
Well, let me pick up on that point, because I do wonder how you would like the government to move forward here, in particular with the throne speech coming up in the next few weeks. How would you like the government to concretely address the concerns that you have listed here?
Well, I think with the job crisis that we have right now, youth unemployment is over almost close to 28%. I think the government needs to, of course, announce a program that's going to rebuild our infrastructure, that's going to make investment to help homeowners that wants to, of course, retrofit their home to meet climate needs. But in addition to that, how do we retrofit old buildings that require that effort to be made? How do we expand our public transit system so people can get out of their cars and, more importantly, reduce pollution? But at the same time, we can create apprenticeship for young people to have an opportunity for their future. At the same time, we're giving an opportunity to also get training in that process. Our healthcare system, as you know, has been the backbone of what this country has prided itself on. But I think in long-term care, we truly have failed our seniors. We certainly need to put some standards in place to make sure all seniors are treated the same way, but equally equip the country to deal better, as many more millions of seniors are going to retire, are going to need assistance in home care, but also in long-term care. How can we ensure that the workers have the skill, but also are paid properly to perform that work? And in terms of the social safety net, for those of us who pay into the unemployment insurance system, we need to make sure we're going to get benefits when we get laid off, and get training at the same time if those jobs are not there, so we can at least equip ourselves for new skills. Mm-hmm. Women, of course, have been fared very badly in this pandemic, and I think we want to ensure that women's equality doesn't take a step backward because we have a pandemic. And I think the federal government can work with the provinces to bring in early childhood learning, as also we build a national child care in this country that's truly going to serve the needs, but equally will pay for itself.
Well, okay, let me jump in there, though, because you say that, and I'm interested because I'm thinking about dollars here. You mentioned a green plan, you mentioned long-term care, you mentioned shortfalls with EI and child care for families. But, you know, already with these priorities, we've been hearing from politicians and certain circles who want the spending to slow down, worried about the historic debt that this pandemic has created for this country. Are you not concerned about the economic burden that your suggestions would actually create for Canada?
No, I'm not. And had it not been for the federal government, this country would have been a complete disaster right now. All the programs they've rolled out to put money into the economy, that's helping the economy sustain itself. Of course, the things that I'm identifying are things that we need to do, but equally, all of these things in their own separate way will help pay to make this country a better place, not only for workers, but also for all Canadian citizens. There's no question we're going to have to pay for the debt, and that a conversation we need to have as to how we're going to do that. we went through this during the Second World War. We were able to pay our debt and move forward and build a great country as a result of the efforts we put into the war. I think Canadians expect the federal government to address the cracks in the system, but more importantly is to help them ensure the country is better equipped to deal with the next pandemic when it comes to Canada.
Hassan Youssef, thank you for this. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Michael.
And Mr. Youssef is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress on this Labor Day.